So what is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, where today we are going to be talking about an interview that happened between Jason Blundell, Craig Houston and GameSpot to do with Call of Duty Zombies. Obviously, Jason is the executive producer and Craig Houston is the lead writer of BO4 Zombies, and so interviewing those two is bound to be interesting, and that's exactly what GameSpot have done. So you know what, I thought I'd make a video on this, as there's quite a bit of interesting information about BO4 Zombies. They asked them questions about the Chaos storyline, Blood of the Dead, and just a few other things in general. So I thought we'd read it, go through it, and see what new interesting stuff we could learn. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, a like rating would be appreciated. If not, it's up to you guys. It just means a lot that you all tune in and support the videos. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel, and without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. So if you want to check this article out for yourself, I will link it down in the description. And by the way, this article was released just yesterday, but Jason and Craig were asked multiple questions to do with BO4 Zombies. And the first one was, is there a connection between the Chaos storyline and the previous zombie story? Now, we've already had this answered before, but GameSpot asked them again. Basically, if you don't understand, they're asking, is there a connection between our new storyline with our new set of characters who are Scarlett, Diego, Bruno and Shaw, and the old storyline, Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey? And Jason said, I can absolutely confirm that the Chaos story is in no way connected to the Ether story. Craig then said, other than sharing space, and Jason said, well, they do share a connection there, yet they're on the same disc. That's true. So we already knew that these storylines are linked in no way at all, which for me was really hard to believe, that Treyarch aren't gonna even connect these stories in some way. They're completely separate. Richtofen and the characters don't exist in our new world, and Scarlett, Diego, Bruno and Shaw don't exist in our previous Zombies world. There's no connection at all, which should mean then that there won't even be any single Easter egg, not even a tiny one, in our new Zombies maps that link to the old story. The next question they were asked was, are there any Easter eggs in Blood of the Dead that fans can look forward to? And Craig said, lots. I think the thing that we started talking about was, over these last 10 years, the Ether story involving Richtof and Dempsey, Takeo and Nikolai has been a very involved, time-travelling, multi-dimensional thing of craziness that has a beginning, middle and an end. But we left a lot of very deliberate gaps so that we could revisit, and Blood of the Dead is definitely one of those. It's nice to see the speculation in the community about exactly where it sits in our chronology. All will be revealed, but in terms of Easter eggs, it's going to change people's understanding of some of the things we have seen and perceived so far. Jason then said, in the article, can you put a little star next to the bit where Craig said, all will be revealed? And it says, Jason says, not really. And then Craig replied, lots will be revealed. Jason said, yes, some things will be revealed. And then Craig said, a thing will be revealed. They then went on with Jason saying, with Easter eggs, it's like the Easter Bunny just ran around Alcatraz throwing things around. Craig replied, which is true of everything we are doing in Black Ops 4. We are trying to return to a lot of old school Easter eggs in terms of audio logs and things like that, rather than just giving people impossible to solve ciphers so Jason can just show off his brain. And then Jason finally replied, that's a very good point. Let me do the serious answer to that. As we got to the end of Black Ops 3, especially towards the end of the Ether storyline, we had to make Easter eggs more and more difficult to kind of slow down and control the drip of information to the community. So we started to utilize a lot more ciphers because that would slow it down. You had to do math solving and so forth. Going into the new stages of the Chaos story, we eventually took our mentality back to the beginning of Ether, where it was more about pressing X on things, or reading things that we had on textures, or stuff we'd hide in the world. So those stories have different mentalities now. You'll see a lot more traditional ways of hiding stuff for the players, but the thing about Blood of the Dead is, you know there's a couple of ciphers around for the fans who enjoy that part of it. So that was a very long section. They were basically asked, are there any Easter eggs we can look forward to in Blood of the Dead? And as you've seen, they said, yes, there is. There's loads of Easter eggs. They've put tons into this map. However, the Easter eggs aren't like the ones we saw in Black Ops 3. In that game, we had a ton of ciphers, whereas if you go back to Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 1, the Easter eggs there were more visual. They were things that you would find around the map and be able to look at, or they were more of like radios that we could listen to. The Easter eggs in the older games were more interactive. We could press X on them and they would do something. Whereas in Black Ops 3, most of them were ciphers that we had to break down, solve, and then read. So in Black Ops 4 zombies, especially Blood of the Dead, they're going back to their old ways of Easter eggs. Yes, there's still a few ciphers in there that we're going to be able to solve, but there's also going to be tons of new Easter eggs that are going to be, I don't know, interactable. It sounds like there's going to be radios in here and loads of stuff like that. So that sounds really interesting. I'm also kind of glad it's like that. I think they realised that they did put a bit too many ciphers in BO3 zombies, especially towards the end. They got really difficult to solve. There's still so many ciphers in Revelations, The Giant. I think there's a couple in Drazendraka and Zetsubo no Shima as well. There's so many ciphers in BO3 zombies that we haven't solved that could be integral to our storyline. Those ciphers could include bits of the storyline that we don't know about, but we just can't solve them because they're too difficult. Whether they'll ever be solved, I don't know. I mean, it's been 3 years now almost, so I'm starting to lose hope, and there could be really important bits of the story that we're missing because we can't solve them. And so it seems like Treyarch have kind of realised that they've slacked off on the ciphers. There's still going to be a few in Blood of the Dead, although I doubt they're going to be as hard as they were in BO3. They should hopefully be solvable, but the Easter eggs are going to be more like they were in BO1 and BO2, which for me is very exciting. And it's also the fact that there's going to be loads of new Easter eggs. I know a lot of people thought that Blood of the Dead is going to just be a remake of Mob of the Dead, but it's not. There's loads of new areas for us to explore. There's a new main Easter egg, a new quest. We're using a different set of characters, and there's loads of smaller Easter eggs in here for us to explore as well. Obviously, besides from BO4 weapons and stuff like that. So Blood of the Dead is going to be a lot different to Mob. Anyway, carrying on, so GameSpot then asked them, do you guys, and does the team in general, feel pressure for zombies and for making some really fantastic zombie storylines, considering that Black Ops 4 doesn't have a traditional campaign? And Craig said, the pressure's always been there on zombies as it grows, because it took off so early on as the little bonus map in World at War. You know, with every iteration, we just really tried to push it further and further, both gameplay wise and narrative and everything. So given that the love for that kind of feels natural, we're just doing it even more so this time. I think in narrative terms as well, to be perfectly honest, a lot more writing goes into the zombie stuff than into writing something like World at War, because it's a linear campaign, characters don't talk as much as they do in those kind of modes, because zombies is constantly evolving and constantly changing. You need lines of dialogue for people who've gotten very good at the game and are getting headshots from 20 meters, and you need lines of dialogue for people like me and Jason who need help. So the sheer volume of dialogue, which is not just on the player characters, but is also in Easter eggs, that ends up being a pretty massive chunk of work. The world building and planning for mythologies that we're exploring is really quite significant. Jason then said, and Craig and I both have that campaign background. In terms of the level of engagement and that kind of narrative exploration, we actually scaled up on our narrative team for the zombies work. And then they just said a few other things that are not really that interesting. So they're just basically saying in that part that a lot of work goes into zombies. In fact, they even said that probably a lot more went into the writing of zombies than there did into the World at War campaign. And then the final question they were asked was, what is the weirdest thing that you thought up that still made it into zombies? And Craig said, thousands. I mean, the fact that you've got a golden spork in Mob of the Dead. Jason said, oh yeah, the golden spork was good. The idea of a, what, 1960? When was the spork invented? I don't know. He said, the combination of a spoon and fork, it just blows me away. Still to this day, it seems like a greater achievement than the moon landing. Craig said, yeah, and there's so many. I don't think there's a bar where anything is too silly. I mean, Richtofen cut out Maxis's brain and put it in a drone and flew it into a dimensional portal. So if you can do that kind of thing, that's like a normal day's work. Jason said, I don't know. All of them really. I always say when it comes to zombies development, not only the way we work with the team, but also how we direct it as well, which is that it has to feel like the inmates are running the asylum. It's got to feel like a mode where, and I say this hoping for forgiveness here, with Activision on the line, like they've not got any control over us, and it's a bunch of madmen making a mode. So I think that speaks to the people in a certain way, and that's the spirit that we keep on going. That kind of rock and roll attitude, that kind of, yeah, we're not really going to listen to what the official advice should be for this. this, but this is the way it is. And that's where the interview ended. So they were basically saying for that final question, the Golden Spook is probably one of their most silly Easter eggs they put into the game, although there are quite a few. And Jason just said at the end there that when it comes to the development of zombies, the way the team works, they're kind of like inmates, prisoners that are running the prison. Yeah, they have Activision above them that tells them what to do, but as he just said, Treyarch kind of have a rock and roll attitude where they really don't care. They're not going to listen to official advice and they do what they want, and I guess that's why their games are so good. I'm still here. I'm real. Luke, can someone just please ask Treyarch if we're having 2 maps per DLC? If we're carrying on with this old storyline and the new storyline, somebody please, it's been so goddamn long now, someone just ask them, are we getting 2 maps per DLC? For God's sake, I'm sick of this. Someone ask. There's been so many opportunities. I'm waiting for that. Are we? I don't know. Just please. But there we go. That for me was a very interesting interview. There's still a few other bits in there which aren't really too interesting for you guys, or for me either. But I think that was a really cool interview. Like I said, if you want to check it out, I will link it down in the description. Hopefully, as always, you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and of course, I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.